Hello, it's Edmund M0MNG here. Welcome to my messy kitchen, and I thought I would do a little video for YouTube about one of these, a TYT Tango Hotel Uniform Victor Foxtrot 9 handheld, which I've had for about a week. So there's a couple of things to say about this video. First of all, because I've had it for such a short time, I don't claim to be an expert, and it may be that if I did the video in a year's time when I know the handheld better, then I would say different things perhaps. Secondly, I'm going to do this in one take, and whatever we end up with is what's going on YouTube. It's the punk ethic, you know, if you do it once and whether it's good or bad, that's it. But unlike punk records, I think this is going to last slightly longer than 3 minutes. And last but not least, the reason I got the TYT is if you look up Handy Radio's YouTube channel, Hotel Alpha November Delta Yankee Radio, he is well worth looking at if you like handhelds. And I did a comment in one of his videos, and he said to me, "Have you tried the TYT yet?" And I said I hadn't, so that's the main reason I got one really, but it's well worth checking out the videos on his channel. Okay, first thing to say is that there's no flashlight on the top or a second knob for altering the frequencies. The frequencies are done with the arrow keys here, but it is a female SMA connector, which seems to have gone out of fashion a little bit recently. Other radios such as the Baofeng UV5R, this is a UV5R, not a 5R plus, 5RA or so on, but all of those have the male connector, SMA connector. That's probably very blurred on the top, but for this one TYT have gone back to the female connector on top there. Second thing is the battery. As it stands, the battery on the back of this, the TYT, is the one that came with the Baofeng UV5R, and vice versa. For the original 5R and maybe the 5R Plus and so on, I don't know, the battery will fit. So I will turn this on, and one of the nice things about the TYT is that you can program it to display how much oomph there is left in the battery. The only other handheld I've got that will do that is the Wuxen. It is possible to program this manually, but I've done it with the programming lead. To get the software you need to go on the TYT website, which from memory is something like tyt888.com. At the moment being October 2013, the Chirp software will not yet, as far as I can tell, actually program the TYT. Hopefully that will be coming. As well as the actual software, you need to download a driver, probably, or I did for my Windows 8 laptop. And the link to the driver is on the website, but it's not where you would expect to find it. It's in the download section, but it's listed separately from the software for the TH UVF9, so watch out for that one. The battery that comes with the TYT, which I've got on the back of the Baofeng here, I'm going to have to put the camera down because I'm going to need two hands. The camera's going to fall over. I knew it was going to happen. I'll get the battery off the back, and it's quite a tight fit actually, so I'll just give it a bit of a pull. There we go. This is the battery that comes with the TYT, and it's rated at 1600 milliamp hour, 7.4 volts, which ain't bad when you consider that the standard battery that came with the Wuxen was 1300 milliamp hour, and the high capacity one was only 1700, so 1600 here ain't bad. And you don't get a charger with the TYT, you get a cigarette adapter and an AC adapter. And I'll put the camera down again, and this is fun trying to do this one-handed. If I can open this up, there we go. There's a little flap at the bottom of the battery there, and that comes back, and then you can see there, out of focus again probably, that's where the DC connection goes in. The standard battery that comes with the Wuxen, no, with the Baofeng, I'm going to put the camera down again. This is why I need a glamorous assistant, you see, if I'm going to do videos like this. This is why I don't normally do them. That's 1800 milliamp hour, which is still very good. Now, the next thing I wanted to mention is if you have a Baofeng UV5R, you might have one of these. This is the high capacity one, 7.4 volts still, but has a capacity of 3800 milliamp hours. Now, as supplied, it has little sort of lumpy bits at the bottom there. If you have a 5R like that, whoops, you can put it on and it fits perfectly, and you then end up with a rather substantial looking handheld that looks a bit like that. This battery will not fit on the TYT. It'll get close to it, but it will not fit, and it's not usable in its current state. Now, I know from other videos on YouTube that this battery won't fit the UV5R Plus, UV5RA either, and there is a modification in inverted commas you can do that involves getting a Dremel and scraping the lumpy bits off the bottom, and it will then fit. I assume, and I have no proof, but I assume that if you do that modification, it would then work on the TYT as well. It's certainly okay voltage wise, 7.4 volts, but you try that at your own risk. It may well be that quite soon, if not already, there are specially made versions of the high capacity battery that will go on the 5RA, 5R Plus, and also the TYT as well. Now, something else I'm going to try. I have here an SWR power meter that is accurate. I've calibrated it, and I've also double checked what I'm about to show you against a completely separate SWR power meter, and they both show the same. Got a 50 ohm dummy load in the back there. I'm going to connect first of all the if I can get this right, I'm going to connect first of all this to the Baofeng. This SWR meter will only measure up to 150 megahertz or so, so I can only demonstrate this on VHF. I can't demonstrate it on UHF, but hopefully VHF will give you an idea. Right, so we now have the Baofeng connected to that. I will switch the Baofeng on, and if you use incidentally Chirp software, you can program it so you can have any opening message you like. And I think the fact I can put my name and my call sign on there is pretty cool. You can't do that with the Baofeng own software, incidentally, as far as I know. Right, so we're on 145/500 on high power, and here's the SWR power meter. I will transmit into the dummy load. Mike 0, Mike November Golf testing, and measuring 5 watts, or as near as damn it makes no difference. I will now go down onto a low power channel on 2 meters, and for that we get about 1 3/4 watts. Incidentally, on a different note, don't believe the measurements in manuals as gospel. The original Baofeng UV3R quotes the low power setting as 100 milliwatts, but the actual proper output it gives you is nearer 3/4 of a watt. I don't think I've yet come across a handheld that accurately chucks out the amount of power that is claimed for low power and high power. Right, what I'm now doing is I'm connecting the TYT to the same power meter like that. Incidentally, these little connectors you can get off eBay very cheaply to convert SMA, male or female, to SO239. I'm going to put well, actually I'll do both, because the Baofeng lithium-ion battery is fully charged, and the TYT proper battery is about 3/4 from memory. So I'll put the fully charged one on first. Now, the TYT quotes high power for both VHF and UHF as equal to or slightly over 4 watts. So I'll turn that on. Got 8.5 volts there, you see. So for the low power setting, the MB7 ISC internet link is on 144.9625, and I've got that programmed in as low power. For low power, it gives us, let's see, sorry, that's high power. Oh, I've spoilt it now, haven't I? This is Mike 0, Mike November Golf, testing, power and SWR. That's 6.5 watts. 6.5 watts output on the high power setting. And the low power setting, if I go up there, I think this is low power. Mike 0, Mike November Golf, testing. So even for low power, it's 3.5 watts. So if you transmit on high power for a while, this will get hot, and it will get hot. I haven't done it long enough yet to see if there's any heat issues with the Baofeng here. If you transmit for a long time, it can temporarily, or in extreme cases forever, discolour the screen. I haven't tried that for long enough with this yet to see if that happens. But it will get warm, and it might be worth having if you're chucking the output power into a not very good rubber duck. Then 7 watts as opposed to 3 or 4 watts probably isn't going to make a lot of difference, but it will use up the battery a lot quicker. If you're putting the 7 watts into an already very good antenna, then those extra few watts could make the difference. It won't give you a lot of extra range, I don't think, but if somebody is trying to copy you right on this extreme fringe edge of your coverage area, then the difference between 3 or 4 watts and 7 watts could be your signal being just too weak to be readable, between being that and just strong enough to be readable. So it could be worth having just those extra few watts of power. And of course you can always turn the power down a little bit as well if you want to extend your battery life. Almost finished. The final thing I was going to say is the display, and this is what actually attracted me to this handheld when I saw the video on Handy Radio's website. It's the fact that the display is kind of reversed, and I like that. Now I think it looks classy personally. I have set this up so that the display is on all the time, but at the lowest setting. There are 3 levels of brightness. You've got 1 which is very bright, 2 which is less bright, and 3 which in theory is not bright at all, although in practice I can't see any difference between levels 2 and 3. I think they're the same. You can also set it up so that the display is off all the time, on all the time as it is here, or auto. So if something happens, if you press a button or if the radio bursts into life, the display will light up for a couple of seconds, and I think the exact length of time is programmable. Now to begin with, I thought this was a bad thing because the display would light up like that for a few seconds and then dim, and when it dims it doesn't go slightly dim, it's absolutely dim. I personally had to hold the radio at just the right angle in daylight to actually read the display when it was dim. And if you do it in a completely darkened room, when the display goes dim, you won't see anything at all. So initially I thought that was a bad thing, but the more I think about it, I can now see there are actually advantages to that. If you were, I don't know, if you had 1 battery and you didn't have the possibility of charging it up the whole time you needed to use it, so you needed to ring every single last bit out of it without any wastage whatsoever, then having the display off all the time or to switch off automatically could actually be a good thing in terms of extending battery life in extreme circumstances. It could also be useful for other people not being able to know what you're listening to, if you see what I mean. So for me initially it was a negative, but now I'm thinking maybe it's a positive. Okay, I've been rattling on for 15 minutes now. Oh yes, one final thing. The front end, phase noise, that kind of thing. As much as I love the UV5R, if you take it anywhere remotely near a strong signal, so for example if you went and stood on top of a hill where there was a pager mast nearby, as I do in one of my other videos, then basically you stand no chance at all. The Baofeng would be virtually unusable because it would just get swamped by the nearby signals. This one here, the TYT, costs more. Not a lot more, but it does cost more. And the advertising makes out that it is the next stage of advancement up from the Baofeng UV5R. I'm not going to say that it's impossible to overload this, but I've had it on the end of my collinear and it has happened maybe twice in a week, whereas with this it would be twice in about 60 seconds probably. So the front end on here does seem to be a lot better, I think. The frequencies this covers, it will transmit everywhere it receives, which is bad if you're worried about accidentally transmitting on frequencies you shouldn't, but good in terms of making it future-proof if the band edges ever change, or if you took it abroad. If you went to, say, America, where the 2-meter band goes up to 148 megahertz from memory, you would be able to use this on the frequencies that aren't available in the UK. So I like having the ability to transmit everywhere I can listen. It makes things more future-proof and a lot more adaptable. If you're worried about accidentally transmitting on frequencies you shouldn't, if you program this using the standard Kenwood cable, I'm not sure if you can actually tick a box that will inhibit transmission, but what you can do for each channel you want to never transmit on is switch on the repeater shift and make the repeater shift identical to the frequency. So for example, say you had a frequency in here of, I don't know, the calling channel 145500, and you never wanted to transmit on it and you never wanted it to be possible to transmit on it, you could program it in and you could then put a minus offset in and a minus offset of 145 megahertz. Or maybe not quite as many as that, but put in an offset that's big enough that it would put the radio outside of the range it's capable of transmitting in. I'm sure you get what I mean. I'm glad somebody does, because I don't. Right, so there we go. You now know everything about everything. So, yeah, if there's anything you want to know, put a question underneath this video and I'll either answer it or more likely come back and say I've no idea. I'll ask somebody else. I'll try and find out the answer. But my initial reaction is positive, and I think it's a good little radio. Oh, one last thing I will show you. I've programmed in 4 frequencies here, all of them amateur radio on the top. So we've got the 2 repeaters at Brighton, GB3 SR and BR on 2 meters and 70 sems respectively, the calling channel 145500, and MB7 Internet Sussex Coast, which is the local 2 meter link. If you program in lots of frequencies, do not think that you're going to be able to scan through them and not miss anything. This is not going to go with the speed of a scanner. As you can see, it's slow. It's thorough, but it's slow. The Chinese handheld radio that I know about that manages the best scanning speed is the Baofeng B5, because I've got about 50 amateur frequencies programmed into that, and although that's not as fast as a dedicated scanner, it nevertheless can rattle through everything that's programmed in faster than any other handheld that I own. So there we go, this is Mike 0 Mike November Golf, having waffled on for far too long, saying I hope you found this video useful, because most of the videos about the TYT are actually in foreign languages, or are very short, or are unboxings. I've never understood the appeal of unboxing videos, but there we are. So I hope this helps somebody. Thank you for wasting 20 minutes of your life listening to this drivel, and as I say, if you've got any questions, put them underneath the video and I will do my best to answer them if I can. So 73s for now. Bye bye.